Hi, and welcome to the Picks and Ponderings preview of this year's Arlington-Washington Futurity.
I'm Paul Mazur, joined alongside Nicolle, Neulist, both of us representing Picks and Ponderings at Chicago now.
And we are here to talk about the last graded stakes of the Arlington meet, the only open company stakes for 2-year-olds this meet, which drew a large field. I was kind of impressed.
It did. It drew a full field of 12 in a race I always have a soft spot for every year, the Grade 3 Arlington-Washington Futurity, being that my first race I ever attended at Arlington was an Arlington-Washington Futurity. Terrain, who won after a double disqualification in a downpour.
Whew! No, that was a few years before my first Futurity. My first Futurity was Solitary Ranger back in 2013.
And speaking of the trainer Solitary Ranger, Wayne Catalano, he brings in one here with number 11 Maxis, but we'll get to him and the other 12 in this year's Arlington-Washington Futurity. 100,000 up for grabs, post time just before 5 o'clock Central.
Yeah, there are 12 horses this year. A lot of maidens. You've got 7 winners, 5 maidens, and 2 of them seem to be in that kind of one to beat category. You've got the number 7, Well-Abled, for Larry Ravelli, and you've got the number 9, Star Empire, for Wesley Ward. But I'm going to try and beat those.
So you're going to take your first playing pinata, and you're going to swing at Well-Abled, and you're going to swing at Star Empire.
Exactly. I mean, we'll get to both of those a little later. I think there's a little more to affirmatively like about Star Empire than Well-Abled. But I'm going to take a little bit of a shot. And I say a little bit of a shot because I'm going to go with the number 3, Romeo O Romeo. We know Romeo O Romeo likes the poly track because he graduated going 5.5 last out on August 21st. Another thing I really like about Romeo O Romeo is how he did it. He was near a multi-way contested pace, was on it, took back just a bit, and then had enough to come back and win by 1.25 lengths. So he has some maturity to deal with a contested pace. So even though he'll be forward, I don't think he's going to be speed duel casualty like some of these true need the lead types here. And he has every right to stretch out, and like the 7 furlongs, given that he's by Macho Uno, out of a horse who won at grade 1 on a synthetic going 2 turns, Romance's Diane. So, at age 2. So I think there's a lot to like here about Romeo O Romeo.
Romeo O Romeo does have good 2-turn breeding, keeping in mind that Romance is stand, and I think that's a Hollywood Starlet you're talking about.
Hollywood Starlet, absolutely.
It's a Hollywood Starlet that she won. That's a Hollywood Starlet she won on the cushion back in the day, and Macho Uno, who as time has gone on has become a pretty good sire of 2-year-olds. But one thing we haven't mentioned in this preview of the Arlington-Washington Futurity is her distance, and that's 7 furlongs. And 7 furlongs tends to be a love or hate distance, or even a niche distance. No one has gone 7 furlongs in this field. You've got a lot of horses who are going second start, so it's a stretch out factor. So I'm going to look at horses who have shown through their pedigree a liking for 7 furlongs. And it leads me to the horse I like, who has drawn the rail, and that's number 1, Ptolemy. Do not adjust your monitors. I am picking a 20-1 morning line shot here for Picks and Ponderings.
Animated.
Again, do not adjust your monitors. Do not adjust your monitors. I am picking a 20-1 maiden to win a grade 3 at Arlington. When Astrology broke his maiden, he broke it at 7 furlongs. And Ptolemy will get the riding services of Mitchell Merle, who's put on a little bit of a late season run to try to make a jockey's race out of it with Jose Valdivia at the top.
He won 3 more today.
And with Valdivia likely on the roller coaster up and down course of Kentucky Downs, I'm thinking Merle could play while the big cat is away. Ptolemy is actually a turn back in this event. In his first start, that came in a 2-turn mile at Arlington. He chased around Kielbasa, who was loose on the lead, and on a free rein on the lead. But at least Ptolemy closed into the margin late and tried to make a dent into Kielbasa's winning margin. Sure, it's going to look like on paper that Ptolemy is a bit of an even pace type. But considering that there's a ton of speed in here, Romeo was close. Romeo, who Nicolle was close to the pace. While Abel, who's your morning line favorite, close to the pace as well. St. Louis guy, 1 of 2 from the Scott Becker.
1 of 3 from the Scott Becker.
3 from the Scott Becker run, close to the pace. It's very possible they could be cooking with gas on the front end, going sub 45 for the hat, going sub 45. In other words, pace collapse. And a horse with a more one gear style that's learned to take back, learn to take back, and learn to chase, not lead. Comes in with an asset in the Arlington-Washington Futurity.
Now, beyond our top picks, there are those two who can be used defensively, or depending on your opinion, some level of affirmatively, which gets me to my second choice, and that is the number 9 Star Empire. I do like him between the top 2 logical choices, if you will. I like Star Empire a bit more, only because, like Paul said, this is a 7 for a long race. Star Empire hasn't gone 7, but he has gone 6.5, giving some sort of idea that maybe he'll like 7. He's at least shown some capacity to do well at an extended 1-turn distance, something nobody else in this field has shown. He also has a little bit of seasoning. He's the only horse in this field to have won 2 races. He blew a baby race out of the water at Belmont back in May, went on the shelf for a couple of months, and came back in that last out allowance at Presque. Polytrack's a question, because the Presque Iltapeta form and the Arlington Polytrack form don't always equate. That said, I like the extended 1-turn victory, and I also like the fact that he sat just a bit off the pace when he won that allowance at Presque. And since he is not just 3rd start of his career, but 2nd off a lay, he has some room to take a step forward. And I like him a little more than Well-Abled, who, though Well-Abled looks like the speed of the speed, his ability to get 7 is questionable, and his ability to not get cooked on the front end is also highly questionable.
I agree with Nicolle that Well-Abled is going to have a stern test on the front end. He's not going to get the free lunch that he had last time out in the States at Saratoga. He's not going to get the free lunch he had when he graduated on Arlington Million Preview Day, doing so by 7 and change. This is a much tougher from a pace standpoint test for Well-Abled. But let's remember what happened in last year's Arlington-Washington Futurity. There's a bunch of speed in the race, and then Shogood goes out and wires it.
Bye.
Yeah, that's what Shogood did, and handicappers are saying there's going to be a pace meltdown. There's going to be a pace meltdown. Sometimes speed panics,
and that's why Well-Abled makes sense as a defensive use. I slotted him 3rd because of exactly that.
Totally agree with Nicolle's reasoning. I'm just going to flip the order of Well-Abled and Star Empire. Larry Ravelli got quite active at Saratoga. It felt like in a way Saratoga was the Larry Ravelli garage sale.
Well-Abled was the one he didn't put in the claim box.
Exactly. He did not put Well-Abled. He didn't put Well-Abled for sale. Instead, ran that one in an open 6-figure stakes at Saratoga, which probably is as tough, if not tough. Probably matches up on class the same as this. 100,000 stakes at Saratoga versus a Grade 3 here at Arlington. Horse-wise, they're equal, but class-wise, they're the same.
I mean, that horse who ran him down is bred to be good. That horse who ran him down, Harlan's Harmony, is a half the tourist.
Right. It's not right. It's right. But keep in mind, Well-Abled is going to be your morning line favorite because it's Larry Ravelli, because E.T. Baird is getting back aboard, and also because Saratoga form sometimes gets a bit overrated. But But Joe Christophek made him the 5-2 morning line favorite for good reason. He's a defensive use because there's a possibility he gets clears the speed of the speed and runs them all off their field, and there's the possibility he gets cooked on the pace and he needs IDOT to help him.
So we've talked about our top choices. We've talked about our two defensive uses, if you will. Now let's get to the long shot, and I think we agree on this one with the number 11, Maxus.
I'm agreeing with Nicolle on this one. If you're looking for an Arlington-Washington Futurity bomb, and this is bomb with capital letters and Comic Sans font too.
Please, impact like the cat macros. Right. Leave Comic Sans out of my handicapping.
Fine, Nicolle. But Maxus makes a lot of sense as a long shot. First off, we've got some quality humans. Carlos Montalvo for Wayne Catalano. Okay, the first one, not so, but it's not as if Wayne Catalano forgot how to train a 2-year-old. Remember, you said your first Arlington-Washington Futurity was Solitary Ranger, right?
Catman.
And guess who trained Wayne Catalano? Guess who else? Yeah. Also, keep in mind, Wayne Catalano trained Froshville champ Sheepy Wild, who won the Philly complement to this race, the Lassie in her Eclipse campaign.
And not only won the Lassie, but Catalano did the same thing with Sheepy Wild that he's doing here with Maxus, which is to say, debuted Sheepy Wild as well in one of these maiden 35s and then sent her in the stakes company. So it's not like he hasn't debuted a good horse at that level, and Maxus, I think he's going to like the turn back to one turn. That last out was a turf mile, going back to what Paul was saying about his pick Ptolemy. Maxus is also cutting back from that one turn turf mile. And so, his stamina for this is not a question. And his breeding is fantastic for one turn on the poly track. He's a full to Isaac Murphy winner in 2014 Fire Tricks.
And keeping in mind that when Fire Tricks raced, Fire Tricks was at her best on a fair poly track with pace to chase. Whether or not this poly track is fair remains to be seen, but there will, thanks to well-able, be pace to chase.
Scads of pace.
For Maxus. If the breeding being a foal to Illinois bred stakes winner Fire Tricks holds, Maxus is a chance, and it's even though Wayne Catalano's only made 50 starts at Arlington. He hasn't made the 200 starts that Wayne Ravelli's made. It's not as though Catalano's dominated the standings. He's just in many different places, running horses at Prairie, running horses in his main string at Monmouth. He can still train. He can still send out a winner. He knows what to do with a 2-group.
He's still winning at a 22% clip this year at Arlington. It's not like he's slowed down his Arlington string. He's doing well. He's placing them right, and even if Maxus gets bet down to 20-1 instead of 30-1, I'm still interested. I'm still covering him.
I'm still interested too. Being a full to Fire Tricks means that he may be the best bred in the field for an Arlington extended sprint poly race.
So just to wrap this up, I'm taking Romeo on top in the Arlington-Washington Futurity, Star Empire and Well-Abled beyond that, and Maxus is my long shot. So at 397, long shot 11.
For me, in the Grade 3 Arlington-Washington Futurity, the 8th and final at Arlington on Saturday, I like number 1, Ptolemy, 20-1 on the morning line. Yes, he's a maiden, but I've given the reason. Number 7, Well-Abled, or 5-2 morning line favorite, slot at second. And third, I'm going to go with number 9, Star Empire, 5-1 on the morning line. For my long shot, like Nicolle, I'm with number 11, Maxus, quarter to 30-1 on the morning line.
Good luck and enjoy the Arlington-Washington Futurity.